Hi everyone, welcome back. Today, moving on to our next section, it is section or lesson 4, so have your table of contents out right now, and it involves adding integers. Add the date next to that as well. Let's get started. The objective today is just going to be to add integers. So again, integers means our positive and negative whole numbers.
The first way that we're going to talk about adding integers is to use a number line. This is a great visual tool to help us understand when we add negatives and positives, then where we end up is going to be our solution. So if we look down here, negative integers are always to the left of 0. And so if we look up here, that's going to be all of these numbers here. Okay, and then the positive integers are going to be to the right of 0, or the opposite of the negatives. And so that's all of these numbers right here. And we did already talk about what is 0. 0 is neither. It is neither negative or positive. So just a quick reminder there. All right, the first example we're going to look at is when we add integers with the same sign. Meaning if we look at this example, it says find -3 plus -2. So both of our numbers are negative, so therefore they have the same sign. And we're going to use the number line and then see this little tiny hint here. We're always going to start at 0. So on your note sheet, you have the example there, and then you have what steps do you take when adding integers with same signs using a number line. So step 1 is you are going to start at 0. And so that's where we're at right here. And then step 2 is you're going to move 3 units to the left. And we're moving to the left because we have a -3 as our first number. So we go 1, 2, 3 units to the left, and then from there we need to move 2 additional units to the left to add the -2. So now I'm going to go 2 more spaces to the left, and where I end up is going to be my solution. So -3 plus a -2 gives me a -5.
Okay, the first thing that we're going to do is practice just adding integers that have the same sign. So when we say same sign, we're talking about that both of our numbers that we're adding together are negative, or they're both going to be positive numbers. Now, we didn't list any positive plus positive numbers because that is a skill that you learned way back in elementary school. So we're just going to practice a few here with just adding negative numbers together. Now, we put the number line down here as a resource for you. So I'm just going to show you with the first example how we use that number line to help us find our answer. So again, we start at 0. We move in the direction of our first term. That's moving to -1 space. From -1, we're going to move 5 down, which is going to leave us at -6, which is our answer. And just the shortcut now, if you don't need to use the number line, we don't need to. And so when I look at question 2, I can think about, well, if I had -4, I was in the hole -$4, and then I owed someone another $3, then collectively or together we owed them $7. Looking at question 3, a -7 plus a -1 is a -8. Question 4, -6 plus -2. Well, we know 6 plus 2 is 8, and then they're both negative, so again, -8 for that one. All right, the next piece to this is adding integers with different signs. And what do we mean by different? It means that one of our numbers is going to be either positive or negative, and then the other one will be the opposite of that one. So meaning if we look at -3 plus 2, the first term's negative, and we're going to add on then a +2 to that. So we're going to stay consistent with using the number line here as a tool to help us add. And so our first step is that we would start at 0 again. And then the second step is that in this particular example, you're moving 3 units to the left since you're going negative first. And then from that -3, our third step is that we're going to move up 2 units, and then we are left at -1, which is the final answer for that one.
All right, so now we're going to look at a couple examples with adding integers with different signs. And so use the number line. Again, like Ms. Heimler said, let's use the number line for the first one, and then I don't know that it's necessary for the remaining. So we're going to start at 0. We're going to go in the direction of the first term, so a -1, and then go in the direction of the second term, and that's a +5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Where I end up is a +4. Looking at number 2, a +4 plus a -3. Anytime we add a negative number, it's similar to subtraction. So we can actually think about that one as 4 minus 3, which gives us a +1. Again, looking at number 3, 7 plus a -1, similar to subtraction, adding a negative. So 7 minus 1 gives us 6. And number 4, we're starting with a negative. And so if you think about on the number line, we're starting down here at a -4, and then we're adding 4 more back in. So where we end up is 0, and I will put some sprinkles on the donut. All right, moving on.
Okay, what we're going to do on this next slide is evaluate expressions with integers. So if you remember what evaluate means, that means replacing the variable with our given number. So we're going to replace b with -6 and then drop down our addition sign and drop down 11. Now, as we get our numbers a little bit bigger, think back to that number line. If you were on -6 and you had to move up 11 spaces from -6, you would be left at the number 5. In the next expression here, we're going to replace m with 4 and then solve. So we have 4 plus -12. And the reason why -12 is in parentheses is just because it's separating the negative sign with the plus sign right here. So it doesn't mean that we start right there. It's just really separating your negative sign away. So think back to that number line. If you are sitting on +4 and you had to move down 12 spots from starting at from starting at 4, that's going to leave you at a -8. Moving on to number 3, replace r with -19, and then I'm going to use the parentheses again to just separate the negative sign from that plus sign. And then I'm on 13 on my number line, and now I have to move down 19 spaces starting from 13, and that's going to leave us at -6. And then in our last one here, we can add 3 terms together. We're first going to replace n with 5, so let's rewrite it. And now I'm going to add together our 2 positive numbers. So we have 3 plus 5 is 8. 8 plus -8 leaves you with 0 or a donut. Let's keep moving. Okay, here's our last example, and we're going to apply integers in the real world. So here's our problem. It says Mika opened a new bank account. Find her account balance after the first 4 transactions listed below. So deposits, what we have to think about, again, is deposits describing a positive or a negative situation. And hopefully you remember that deposits means you're putting money into the bank or you're gaining money, so that's a positive situation. Withdrawals is our negative situation. So these numbers then are negative, or we're taking money out. So we're going to list the numbers here, and I'm going to add little plus signs to our positive ones that we're adding together, and I'll make a little plus sign for the 20. And then we are going to add together the numbers that we're withdrawing. So that is a -166, and also adding together then a -38. And what we can do is, because this is a large multiply string, is we can add together our positive values first. So 200 plus 20 is 220. And then add that together with our negative ones. And I can add anything in any order if it's all addition. So I'm going to add -166 plus a -38, and we get a -204. And then when you add those together, notice that we have more positives. So 220, we have more of that number. And really, how much more do we have? We have $16 more. And so our final answer after we make all those transactions is that we still have $16 left in our bank account. All right, go ahead right now and finish your practice problems, and then we will continue to practice adding integers in class.